Tulsi Gabbard.
Aloha. I joined the Democratic Party over 20 years ago. I was 21 years old in Hawaii, and at that time, it welcomed people from all different backgrounds, different views, celebrated free speech, and actually defended those whose speech was being attacked, even if they disagreed with their views. It was a party that stood up for the little guy and represented our values of freedom and liberty in America. I left the Democrat Party because now it stands for the exact opposite of all of those things.
Free speech is not an absolute.
Social media sites, they are speaking to millions of people without oversight or regulation, and that has to stop.
I never would have imagined as an American and as a soldier that we would live in a country in my lifetime where we would feel like we have to self-censor what we say, that we couldn't criticize our own government for fear of them labeling us as a domestic terrorist. We are closer to the brink of World War III and nuclear war today than we ever have been before, directly because of the Harris-Biden administration's foreign policy. Too many Americans are struggling just to afford the basic necessities of life. No matter how many times we've heard Kamala Harris and Joe Biden over these last 4 years tout and celebrate how Bidenomics has been great for America,
America's economy is strong.
Polls consistently show that a majority of the American people disapprove of the president's handling of the economy.
Guess what? It's working.
Over half of Americans earning a six-figure salary report that they're actually living paycheck to paycheck. Bidenomics is working. It is actually working.
The number of homeless people on the streets and in shelters across the U.S. increased significantly this year.
Bidenomics is working.
it's almost as though they're speaking from an ivory tower, saying how great they are and patting themselves on the back, while people are struggling for crumbs on the streets. This election really isn't about the left versus the right. It's about choosing, we the people choosing our government and the choice between freedom versus tyranny.
The Department of Defense under Biden's authority quietly codified its right to deploy lethal force against its own citizens on American soil.
I'm proud to endorse Donald Trump in this election because he is our best hope. Specifically because of the leadership that President Trump has brought to transform the Republican Party and bring it back to the party of the people, the party of equality, the party that was founded to fight against and end slavery in this country. It is the party of common sense and the party that is led by a president who has the courage and strength to fight for peace.
Mr. Trump became the first sitting U.S. president to ever set foot inside North Korea yesterday.
And this is why they will do everything possible to try to destroy him. Because this man has the courage to take them on and root out the deep rot of corruption in Washington. My message to my fellow Americans, regardless of your political affiliation, now is the time for us to stand together to save our country. A vote for President Trump is a vote for a big open tent party that welcomes people from all backgrounds and all walks of life. A vote for President Trump is a vote to express our deep love for our country and our appreciation for our God-given rights and freedoms enshrined in the Constitution. A vote for President Trump is a vote for secure borders and safe communities, and a vote for President Trump is a vote for peace here in America and around the world. Thank you so much.
You know, Tulsi, when Mark Cuban says Donald Trump doesn't like to surround himself with smart, intelligent, independent women, it's hard not to see that's a direct shot at Kellyanne Conway, Kayleigh McEnany, Linda McMahon, a whole host of other women as well, including you, Tulsi. It seems like it's a direct shot at someone like you.
You know, there's actually something much darker that he is implying there, because the premise of his statement is that he believes that Liz Cheney and female warmongers like her are what defines strong women. They are hypocrites and cowards, because when you look at people like Liz Cheney, she is eager to send our troops into harm's way. She is eager to advocate for more stupid wars, but she and other warmongers like her will never volunteer to put their lives on the line for these military adventures they're advocating in. I just finished a couple of days of Army Reserve duty at Fort Sill, Oklahoma, and yesterday morning I stood there on the graduation field and saw a few hundred brand new soldiers graduating from basic training, probably 1,000 family members there to celebrate them. And it was so moving. And I was thinking about people like Liz Cheney when I was watching them, because these are the young men and women who will pay the price, potentially with their lives, if people like Liz Cheney, Dick Cheney, and Kamala Harris are allowed to be in power. This is one of the many reasons why I'm so strongly advocating for and supporting for President Trump to go back to the White House, to end wars, not start them.
I warned the American people in 2019 when she and I were running for president as the for the Democratic nomination for president, how dangerous she would be if she were our commander-in-chief, because she would do her best to mask her insecurities and weakness by trying to project strength, by using the lives of my brothers and sisters in uniform to go and start another new, unnecessary, costly war somewhere else in the world so that everyone could see her as tough. We volunteer to serve. We are willing to lay down our lives for our country to ensure the safety, security, and freedom of the American people. We do not volunteer our lives to make a weak politician feel tough.
President Trump was absolutely right when he said that Dick and Liz Cheney are always eager to go and waste the precious lives of our brave men and women in uniform, sending them off to go fight in stupid military adventures, and yet they themselves are too cowardly to put themselves in a position where the enemy's guns are pointed at them, with their lives at risk. So instead, they sit and hide in their ivory towers, without hesitation, sending others into harm's way. So President Trump speaking this truth is not a threat to anyone. It's the truth that voters need to know before this election is over. Listen to Trump say it in his own words and make your mind up for yourself.
But the reason she couldn't stand me is that she always wanted to go to war with people. I don't want to go to war. She wanted to stay in Syria. I took them out. She wanted to stay in Iraq. I took them out. I mean, if it were up to her, we'd be in 50 different countries. She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face. You know, they're all war hawks when they're sitting in Washington in a nice building saying, oh, gee, let's send 10,000 troops right into the mouth of the enemy. But she's a stupid person. And I'd have meetings with a lot of people, and she always wanted to go to war with people.
The contrast between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris could not be more great. We look at President Trump's record. He's the first president in my lifetime who has not started any new wars. What does that say? And we look at the disastrous and destructive record of Kamala Harris and Joe Biden. As we sit here today, we are embroiled in multiple wars in different regions of the world. We are closer to the brink of World War III than we ever have been, and closer to the brink of nuclear Armageddon. That's the reality that we face. The Bulletin of Atomic Scientists say we are closer to that doomsday clock, nuclear Armageddon, than we ever have been. Who we choose as our commander-in-chief matters, not only for those of us who serve, but for all of us as Americans and for humanity at large. President Trump is our best and only hope to save our country and to save the world and put us back on that path towards peace and freedom and prosperity.
Both Bobby and I met with President Trump, and there was not a single, I'll speak for myself, Bobby, but I've heard you share your conversations with him. There's an understanding that we're not going to agree on everything. We are not going to agree on everything. My husband and I don't agree on everything. You and Cheryl? But the point is, we are gathered together and standing together because we're motivated by the most powerful force that exists, and that is love. It is. And this has been one of the most beautiful things that I've experienced, and just seeing all of you here today, seeing the Democrats and former Democrats raise their hands, all of you embraced us with open arms, as President Trump has as well, because a movement that is motivated by love for God, love for our country, love for each other as Americans, that is the only way, that is the only thing that could bring such an amazing and incredible and diverse group of people together working towards this singular cause of defending freedom.
The troubling part about all this is it's not even people who we vote for. When you look at what happened when President Biden had that infamous debate with President Trump, it exposed the reality that many of us have known for a long time, which is that President Biden has not been the guy calling the shots. He has not been the guy making the decisions, nor has it been Kamala Harris, for that matter, nor will it be if she is elected president. It is this cabal of, the Democrat elite, the woke warmongers, made up of the likes of Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama and, Tony Blinken and Jake Sullivan and, people who are in the military-industrial complex, people who profit from us being in a constant state of war. It is those in the administrative state, in the national security state, who derive more authorities and ability to take away our liberty when we are in a heightened state of crisis or war. It is their friends and billionaires and people in media who all derive their power from being able to have a figurehead that essentially they can control. And the most troubling part about, there's so many things wrong with this, of course, but really at the most fundamental level, you look at, our country is the oldest democracy in the world, but the reality of a truly functioning and thriving democracy that has brought to life the vision that our founders had for us, that we really have a government of, by, and for the people, and that we have the ability and responsibility, for that matter, to ensure that the government we have only exists with the consent of the governed. That becomes very hard to do, to hold people accountable when the person that you voted for is certainly not the one making the decisions.